Financial advisors and planners are always looking for help in taking their business to another level. But that's only possible if you're passionate about building your practice and have a plan to execute. Welcome to Your Practice, Your Passion with Wesley Forster, CFP, registered financial planner and coach at The Perfect Practice. In this podcast, Wes provides insight from his 38 years of operating a successful financial planning practice to help you break through the ceiling you've hit and save you time and money, getting you and your practice to where you want to go. The results are an ultra-successful practice you can be proud of and few can compete against. Now, on to the show.
Your drive to excel as a financial advisor is understood here in the Perfect Practice podcast. Host Wes Forster has the tools and experience to guide and inspire you to succeed, and he shares all that and more. This is the first show, and Wes talks with me, Patrice Sikora. Wes, you have another successful podcast aimed at the consumer planning for retirement, but this one's for advisors. Why?
As I get closer to retirement, and I look at the experiences I had over the years with reviewing people's financial plans, so to speak, which were seriously lacking when they come to us. They think that they have one. In fact, they don't really have one. It might be their investment plan or something like that. And I look at it and I go, who did this for you? And what were you expecting? What was it? What were your expectations? And oftentimes it's, well, I don't know. There's no guide to what should my expectations really be. And to me, that was concerning. And then I look at regulators on both sides of the border, but let's just take Canada. I look at the regulators and I think, let's just say we hope that they mean well, that it's not self-serving, but I'm concerned about that too, that they could use a little guidance as well about how to take care of this consumer, because that's what they're there for, is to protect the consumer. And my take on this thing is that, first of all, I get a real charge out of helping people. I just dealing with this yesterday with a charity, and we're talking back and forth in terms of this particular charity, and it's to help people that are homeless and they need groceries and things like that right here at home. And I like helping that out too. I mean, if we're fortunate, we got to help. I look at this thing as helping not just the consumer. If I help another financial planner to succeed and to actually prepare a financial plan for their clients, not just invest their money, not just sell them an insurance policy, but seriously dig deep to make sure you're doing an amazing job for them, because that's what they deserve. And then we're helping everybody, right? Where it's just not about me. It's not about them. It's about, and you're proud of it too. At the end of the day, this is what I encourage my coaching clients to understand, is that imagine you're going home at the end of the day and you can say to yourself, man, I did a really good job for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I'm proud of that. That was amazing. And you've heard me say this before too, the banter that I use about, if you can't help yourself, you can't help others. And Here's the other sad story, is that people don't, our financial planners aren't doing it for themselves. They talk about it, having a will and an estate plan. They're not current. They haven't reviewed it and things like that, or they're just not done. And they don't spend much time on it. You have to spend time on that estate plan. I know we've talked about this too, Patrice, is everything is connected when it comes to planning for finances. Your estate plan, your investments, your insurance, your taxes, and then of course there's the plan. But what we see people in our industry doing is that they're either selling a life insurance policy or they're gathering assets. And to me, that, I don't know, it strikes me, I don't want to be judgmental here, because we've got stockbrokers out there that do an amazing job of buying and selling stocks. Now, the really good ones, oftentimes the average consumer can't afford them, but they are very good at what they do. But make sure that the client understands that's all I'm doing. You still need a financial plan. And in fact, you should start with a financial plan before you start investing people's money for them. That's my greatest concern, is that we can go out there. I can't make all the difference, but I can certainly make some difference and help people, financial planners, to fine tune their practice. So it is a practice, and that they're doing it for themselves. Okay. I say to my clients, the coaching clients, I say to them, what you got to think about is that I'm walking in the door, knowing what I do, and I want to be your client. And if I look at a lot of them, and unfortunately the percentage is way too high, that aren't doing financial plans, but the consumer, here's where the consumers has a disadvantage. They don't know what they don't know. So they might think that all these things are being done for them. And in fact, they're not. Now, some planners, that's simply because they don't practice that, but they should be disclosing that to their client. Don't lead them to believe that this is taking place. And some of them, they just unfortunately don't care. If the consumer doesn't know that, they're hooked up with you. This is when bad things happen. And I see a lot of bad things happening. So we sell things based on, when it comes to the investments, we sell it based on return. Well, now you're just a commodity, because if the client doesn't get that return, they're going to the next guy. There's nothing that keeps them there with you, nothing that you can build the relationship on. My feeling on this thing is that as I get closer to retirement, I'm gonna transition pretty much full time into the coaching side of things. I am, for the most part, the coaching clients I have now, it's full time. I kind of swap my time back and forth here, but which still benefits both. It benefits the firm that I'm with now, HSI Financial Group. And in fact, the people that I've sold it to, the fellows within the company that I've sold my share, or selling my shares to, have come to me and said that they want me to continue coaching them on an ongoing basis after they bought me out. And I'm more than willing to do that. These are great bunch of people, guys. They've been with me for quite some time, but they recognize the value in the coaching. Mm-hmm. They recognize the value in Wes being there as a bit of a guiding light, if you will.
Talk a little bit more about your expertise as a coach. What are you bringing to the role? Because even these folks here at HSI want you to stay on and work with them.
I think too, that might be good for another podcast to bring one of them on and let them explain that to you too. And sure. Even for that matter, some of our coaching clients, bring them on and let them talk about that, what Wes brings. I don't really like talking about myself that way. You jump in anytime when I start telling you about this, but the way I see it. There's 30 years of experience there. The first 4 or 5 years, I was kind of being led around, by the nose, because I didn't know any better. And there were certain studies that I wanted to be involved in that transpired a little bit later than I wanted. And the people that were my mentors and coaches, that was primarily, again, you got to gather the assets, and this is how you build this thing, and yada, yada. Well, the assets will come if you do it right. What I did as I progressed, I'm not satisfied. If I'm going to do something, I got to do it 100%. I can't just go into it half-heartedly. That's my flying career as a pilot. I have to do that 100%. Like, it's all in, or don't do it. It's too dangerous not to do it that way. Well, it's too dangerous not to take this financial planning thing seriously. And it's what the consumer deserves. What we did, and what I did over the years with a great team and developed a team, is we put together things that we can use and we can repeat what we do for everybody, not just for one person. And when somebody comes in, it's not just on a hope and a prayer that we've covered everything. So we have our checklists. And that comes down to the marketing as well. So that's the planning, but also the marketing side of things. But then even further back than that, what came first, the chicken or the egg, is the accounting systems, the training of the individuals. I was involved in all of that. And then there's the mistakes that we made. So we talk about the best way to learn is to learn from other people's mistakes. Well, that's true. Or pardon me, the best way to learn is from our own mistakes and then correct those. But I say the cheapest way to learn is from other people's mistakes. How quick do you want? We experienced our best growth here in the last, say 15 years. And even just it builds on itself, and the systems that we've got in place. And that's what we're going to share with, and what I do share with our coaching clients, is the systems and the resources and all that good stuff, everything. So the result of it is that you get to where you want to go, or at least maybe you didn't know you wanted to go there. Some people say, well, geez, you're an overachiever. No, I'm not an overachiever. I don't like that terminology, that what it implies. If overachieving means doing the best you can do for somebody because you took them on as a client, then I guess I'm an overachiever, because I'm concerned about that. I would be embarrassed to do anything less. I would be embarrassed to do anything less for my coaching clients as well. So we want to get them to where they want to go. We want to learn what they want to achieve. That's really important. And can they put their finger on what it is that they want to achieve? The funny thing is that the more I talk to them, how they change their, call them aspirations, their goals, and that type of thing. Even the education, I stress the education to them, and I'm pushing them. I just keep pushing them, because as I say to them, I really don't care. Like, you hired me to be your coach. Do you want me to stop coaching? I'm going to critique you. I'm going to tell you the way it is. I'm not going to hold any punches. So there's things that you need to do. So one of those is the education side of it, building a team. execution. So I'm going to be there to hold you accountable to do all of these things. It's not a weekend event. This is a daily event. In the case with with the coaching clients, it's a weekly event where we take one day a week and we go through this process with them. Yeah. Yeah. So did I answer that question?
I think you did. And
Yeah.
with whom do you really like to work? You claim you don't see yourself as an overachiever, but do you want to work with people who are overachievers?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't label people. I think there's only a handful of people out there that are overachievers that are driven with I don't know, a different agenda, certainly than mine. I think that most people, they just want to do a darn good job and they want to get better at what they want to do. And that's the kind of person that I'm looking for, that they really mean business, that they're coachable, that they want to do an amazing job for their clients. So the things that we talk about, and what I say, where I start with is what we've talked about in the past and here just now. First, as a financial planner, do you agree with things that I'm saying? That you want to make sure that these things are done for your client. You care about your client enough to do that. Well, that puts a burden on you right away, on your conscience, and that's okay.
I was going to say, shouldn't that be there anyway?
Yeah, that's right. We need those challenges. So are you coach? How you want to make a commitment to doing it? You have to be committed to doing it, because as a few of my coaching clients say to me, Wes, this is like drinking from a fire hose. Well, yeah, it is. Absolutely. It will at some point slow down, but to learn the things that I'm going to teach you is going to take quite a good deal of time. It's not going to happen in a week or two or a month or two, or even in a year or two. It's going to take some time. And so obviously it deserves a commitment. But I think I've laid it out in such a way, and the progression of it, you're going to be rewarded fairly soon for the work that we're going to put in. And I think that's what they're all excited about. I've got a few good reviews from them, and they're excited. So I think you could say, we're going to help you lay it out. Okay. You have to execute, but we're going to help you lay it all out. I'm going to hold your hand. You're going to design, you got to make it you, but I'm going to help you with that as well. How to make it. Many of the people that I work are already branded. They've done a great job of branding, or that branding needs some tweaking as well. So we work on that. How are you going to do the marketing? So we're going to help you with that business as well. So the ideal person that comes to me, they could be earning a couple $300,000 a year already revenue. They could be earning $1 or $2 million a year, but they've hit the ceiling. Okay, their practice has hit a ceiling, and they can't understand or can't seem to get past that ceiling. And for very good reasons. I've been there. I've gone through many different stages with our financial planning practice. But you see, that's part of it too. I guess you could say, I am pretty intense and persistent, that it's a challenge. So I got to get past that ceiling. Why am I there? You heard the story, I don't know, maybe of the fleas in a jar. Have you heard that one? Fleas in a jar. Okay. So I liken what we've done here to ourselves as fleas in a jar. So if you put fleas in a jar, and they'll just jump out.
Okay.
Fleas they jump out of the jar. If you put a ceiling on that jar, the fleas will jump up and hit their little noggins on that lid, and they'll stop jumping. They'll only jump as high to prevent themselves from hitting themselves on the head on that lid. Okay. If you remove that lid, they won't jump out of the jar.
Because they think they're going to hit their heads.
They think they're still going to hit their head. They think that lid is still there. And that's what we've done to ourselves too. And we've limited ourselves, and we can't see it. The fleas can't see it either. Okay. This is what we want to do. We got to help our coaching client get past that. We got to help them to jump higher and higher. Okay. And then they're going to get into a bigger jar, and it's going to have a lid on it. And we got to get past that one. So it's a progression of things, an evolution. Okay. That's your business, is an evolution. Like you and I were talking about a little while ago about writing the book. No, you can. Looking back at some of the things I wrote in that book, and I think, did I write? It's pretty bad. You got to change that. It's okay to do those things. This is how we make progress. Change is progress. So you're willing to make changes. Okay. Ideally, you at least have one assistant. Some people come to me with 2 or 3 assistants already, but they haven't been trained properly. And they don't understand. Once again, these are all the things that limit you and puts that lid on your system. All right. And you don't even know it. You don't see it. You're in a bubble. You think everything is going just rosy, but yet you're not producing what other people with 2 and 3 assistants are producing.
Mhm.
So we'll help you with that. We'll help you to get past that because we were there. But more importantly, it's about the time, because all we have is time. In my logo, it says when time matters. Okay. And time always matters. Don't waste it. You can't replace it. Money you can replace, time you can't. So this is what this is all about. Let's get there and get there quickly.
The Perfect Practice is the coaching organization that helps financial planners break through the ceiling they've hit and build a practice they're proud of and few can compete with, saving time and money.
When an advisor comes to you, can you tell pretty quickly whether or not they're going to be a match for your program?
Yeah. No, I can't say I can. I can't say I can. There's other things I can tell. If you do something, I can tell. But I had one gentleman that came to me, actually 2 gentlemen recently that are coaching clients now. And one of them said to me, he was very apprehensive. He was pulling the trigger on writing the check and engaging us to help him coach, to help me help him coach him. And some of the things he said were, he's done this before and he hasn't got great results. And so he's very apprehensive, and understandably so. I said, but you see, the things that you won't know unless you try. Okay. Everything that you learn, what I'm talking to you about right here, if somebody's listening to this podcast, this is very similar. This is a similar conversation, just a little different verbiage. If I'm talking to a consumer, to a client that's coming to our financial planning practice, it's no different. I'm going to deal with you in a professional way. But one thing I'm going to be blunt about it is, it doesn't matter to me. Okay. If you write the check and you become a coaching client, you are going to get me, 100% of me. And I don't hold back my advice. I don't hold back it's not on a clock, if you will. That same gentleman, in fact, I was just talking to him yesterday and we were going over some specific things. I don't do a lot of one-on-one, because in our groups, everybody wants to learn the same thing. They may not have asked that question, but I get a lot of good questions from these guys. And I often say to them, the whole group needs to hear this. It's good. It's great what you're asking. They're experiencing the same thing. They don't realize it yet. We talk about, you don't know what you don't know. Right. And unfortunately, in our industry, we get a license and maybe we get a designation. We have our university degrees. Does not mean that we've had that experience. It does not mean the people that are licensing us are doing what we're doing. In fact, I don't know of a lot of places that are proposing doing this kind of a coaching program that I'm talking about. They do coaching. They have some good ideas. There's no doubt about it. I've seen the weekend ones. I've attended some of the weekend coaching events. I got a guy down in California that's simply amazing at it. And he's a great guy, but he doesn't do ongoing coaching like we do, like I do. But I'd still recommend him in a heartbeat because he's amazing, provided, of course, he's still doing it.
Well, you say ongoing. How long is your program? Ad infinitum?
You sign on for a year at a time.
Okay.
So it's a weekly, like I say, it's a weekly call that we do with the whole group, or as the group, that people get added to the group. And that goes by a year at a time contract. And then these guys the current people, including HSI, is already committed to the next year, and and so on. Get out when you want and get in when you want, kind of thing. You won't be disappointed. I guarantee you that. You will not be disappointed. If you are, I'll give you your money back. Let's put it that way. So
you've talked not a lot. You've mentioned HSI and your experience there and how you bring that to your role as a coach. Tell me a little bit more about the philosophies, though, that you've built or that you've learned, you've developed at HSI, and how that impacts you as a coach.
Well, like I say, you hear me say this, that if you can't do it for yourself, you can't do it for others. That's part of the philosophy is, I believe that wholeheartedly. It's not the shoemaker's son has holes in his shoes. That's not, none of our staff has holes in their shoes. Okay. Their shoes would be impeccable designer shoes. And I wouldn't have it any other way. That's what all of our staff learns. And that's step one as a vision, if you will, or a culture as far as the business is concerned. And then the philosophy is that the consumer deserves it. So you got to do your very best. It can't be half-assed. Okay. So that's where the checklists come in. So that's where I talk about things being repeatable. So one client comes in, they're not going to get something different than another client. We don't do things on a hope and a prayer that we're not going to miss anything. That's why the checklists are so very important. Of course, that comes from my experience as a pilot too. Checklists are critical. And you use them. You don't miss things. And you have a co-pilot there that's keeping an eye on things too. And that's what we have at HSI. We have, more than one person looking at everything. The philosophy, there's a number of ones, but I always say you start with the plan first, and then you go on to the other things. You bring in the other vehicles that you're going to use, or strategic partners that you're going to use to execute the plan for the client. So with that, they walk away. And as I say to the client, our yardstick to measure what their experience is did they walk out of our office with a smile on their face? So if we follow that recipe, we can get into, I'm not sure if this is where you were going with that question, because you and I talked about philosophy a few days ago, and we have our investment philosophy and we have our plan philosophy. So what I did there is I just kind of put those all together into one. But, at the end of the day, as I said, when my people are going home, are we proud of what we did? And how can we measure that? Well, the client told us that, wow, am I glad that you guys were in our corner. Other people can hear that too in our industry, but it's up to you. It's incumbent on you to kind of do an audit of yourself. Are you doing those things? So one little example of that, I talk about the estate plan, and this one bothers me an awful lot, especially people that are selling insurance and they're not looking at the person's wills. And I mean, not just asking for it, actually reading it word for word, making notes on it, making sure, well, for one thing, that the will is current, understanding the will and how wills work in your province or your state or whatever the case may be, understanding how it works and making sure it's working with whatever it is that you sold that client. Is it going to go off the way, we're afraid to ask the client what their expectations are because we may not know how to solve that problem. Well, let's learn how to solve the problem. So it's more than just writing somebody's name on the beneficiary line, estate planning. It's more than just understanding probate. It's more than just understanding. It's about the person's feelings. It's about the family's feelings. How did you bring them together to have that discussion? Did you really take the time and listen to them to solve their problem? And this is the stuff that we don't, insurance specialists or, experts, and they miss some of these details that, I mean, gosh, darn it, it makes a huge difference. Now, again, a lot of times the consumer doesn't realize this sort of things happen to them. In fact, they could have a family member that passes away and maybe the beneficiary was the estate, which is a huge mistake and cost them taxes, but they just thought that's the way it happens. So they never question it. Nobody's going to actually do an audit of that to make sure it was done right in the first place. This is where we have to audit ourselves. We have to make ourselves aware. And that's what we're going to do for you. That's what we're going to help you with your practices, to make sure that you're aware and that you're providing an amazing service. And I mean an amazing service. You're not a fraud pretending that you're doing, or at least the client thinks that you're doing all those things and that they got all their bases covered, when in fact they don't. So you become an amazing financial planner, and you have raving fans. I look at our client base and we've got raving fans, and I'll tell you what, that's pretty easy to work with. I got guys saying to me, Wes, I get challenged on this. Like, for example, our returns on our investments. You cause that problem yourself, because all you're doing is selling investments. You're gathering assets. That's when those sort of things are happening, because now all you are is a commodity, right? You're replaceable. They're going to go to the next person that's going to offer them big returns. That's not what this is about. I don't have those conversations with our clients. It happens occasionally, especially with newer clients, but there's a system to make sure that those things are dealt with before they become a problem. The client understands, but you need to learn how to do it. And there's a series of things that you need to do to make sure that happens. Well, we've got those systems. We can share that with you. So it's about putting a smile on your face. So going back to the buddy there that was apprehensive of signing the agreement and becoming a coaching client, he did. And I think he's a pretty happy dude that he did. And he's told me now. He's smiling. He's written a testimonial about that. We had another young guy that we got folks that come to us that they believe that, and so they should, because you see a lot of these people are good at what they do. I mean, there's a small percentage that aren't very good at what they do, and they should probably find a new career. Okay. But a lot of the people that I'm talking about here are pretty good at what they do, but nobody's guided them down that road. Nobody is. You got this opportunity here to lean on what I've done over these 38 years. And it's not just the 38 years, it's the years before that too, that I constantly challenge myself to be better and better at what I do. But I asked them, there's a few things I want you to do. there's a few things before we get started I want you to do. One, read the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Everybody that comes and works for me has to read that book. 2, read or listen to on audio, because it's a big book, The E-Myth by Gerber. Read that book, okay? Because you think you have a business. Read the book and then tell me if you have a business, or do you have a job? So a lot of people say, I got a business. You're not even treating it like a real business. It's a job, okay? And 3, if you can take the time, read my book. No, you can't, okay? Because, of course, what I wrote that for, the premise of that writing that book was so that the consumer can make a comparison of what a plan or a financial plan ought to look like. That was the whole point of it. Because it goes back many years that I wrote that book, and it's the same thing today as it was then and 20 years before. That's why I wrote it, is that the consumer doesn't know what a financial plan looks like. So they think if they come to you with their investment statements, that's their financial plan. That's their investments at whatever institution they have it with. It's not your plan. There's no plan there at all. Where's the tax plan? Did your financial planner even look at your taxes? That's another thing, is the courses that I want to get you involved in to bring you up to speed, but bring you up to speed a lot quicker. You see, what a lot of us do in our industry is we go out and we start searching for things. Okay, I'll take this course, I'll take that course. I don't know if that's going to be right for me, but I'm going to take it anyways. I'm going to specialize in this, or I'm going to specialize in that. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. You need somebody there to guide you through some of those minefields, right? And because that's exactly what they are for the client and for the financial planner. And if you go through those minefields by yourself, it ends up costing you a lot of money. Could cost you your career. Okay. So this is the idea of this, is to expedite it.
So how can advisors reach you?
How can they reach me? Now, we're just working on the website right now, or they can call me at 250-215-2322, or contact me by email at wes@theperfectpractice.net. The website will be the same iteration of that email address. Obviously, it'll be theperfectpractice.net, from what I understand. Anyways, we're going to be launching that here. And the reason it's taken a little bit longer is because the resources, all of our resources, are going to be on a library that you sign into on the website. And the resources are enormous. The files are enormous. Like I say, you're going to get a lot of information, a lot of tools to use. And we'll talk about each one of those tools in each one of these weekly events. And sometimes we'll do 3 or 4 or 5. We bring on guests and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. We have some good laughs. One of my coaching clients said to me, she says that she looks forward, that makes her day, Wednesdays when we have our time there. So yeah, that's it. I look forward to, questions and get things going for people.
Sounds great. Wes Forster. So all you advisors, follow this podcast to know when the most recent episode is available. Make sure you contact Wes, and don't forget to share with others. I'm Patrice Sikora, and let's talk again later.
Thank you for listening to Your Practice, Your Passion, the show for financial planners who are passionate about taking their practice to another level. If you have any questions about topics covered during the show, visit theperfectpractice.net. Email Wes at wes@theperfectpractice.net, or give him a call at 250-215-2322. Don't forget to click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes become available.